and by how many people, he would experience a feeling of gratification such as few men have ever known. The stark awareness of his absence motivated an impulse to give recognition to that which all of us had unconsciously sensed, but very few of us had ever really appreciated: the community importance of Arthur J. Hendrickson. The thought was electrifying. Its theme spread throughout the village with a spontaneity that would confound comprehension. A committee was formed, and the project crystallized instantly. The progress of the undertaking was amazing. Nevertheless, the committee advanced cautiously, fully cognizant of the immensity of this plan. One grim misgiving assailed the committee, however: the fear that accident or illness, tragedy, or some unpredictable event would occur and cheat the people of Valley Stream of this opportunity to pay homage to Arthur. When finally Arthur did return, just before the 1st of February, his sun-browned appearance and his effervescently evident health and the visible contentment that he displayed all combined to provoke a very understandable joy and relief to the committee. Tickets were made available in a meeting to which had been invited representatives of all the known organizations of the village. All were given equal opportunity to purchase tickets. No special privilege of reservation was allowed. Everybody was admonished that the capacity of Park-In would quickly be oversubscribed. The rapidity of ticket sale is now a matter of Valley Stream history. Nothing like it had ever before occurred. SRO is an abbreviation which implies success to a theatrical performance. The dream of every producer is SRO, standing room only. Yet if Charlie Hopple were to post a sign in this place tonight, it would not read SRO. It would read NESR, not even standing room. The demand for admission has been overwhelming. People who paid $5 for their tickets very quickly discovered that the same tickets were resaleable for $10 and even $15. The scalpers tried to muscle in. And now comes the confidential point of this investigation. It is rumored, and I dare say very strongly suspected, that the district attorney of Nassau County himself went to the black market for his tickets. Our district attorney, Frank Gulata, is one of the few non-residents who succeeded in crashing the gate tonight. He would tell you that trying to break through the sound barrier in an airplane is sissy stuff by comparison. We Valley Streamers have been boldly selfish in this celebration. And why not? This Arthur man is ours. And this one time we have made it as difficult for a non-resident to get into Park-In as that proverbial feat of attempting to pass the biblical camel through the eye of the needle. I recall an incident of my childhood, my first visit to a cafeteria. When time came for dessert, the sight of so many enticing delicacies on the dessert table paralyzed me. I was so nonplussed I couldn't make a selection. I wanted everything I saw, but I didn't know how or where to begin. A A similar problem presented itself in organizing this testimonial. The subject matter for a tribute to Arthur Hendrickson is inexhaustible. Tonight, Arthur will receive a token. The individual who was commissioned to compose and construct this gift came to me in utter dejection. He was confronted with the same perplexity. He could not determine where to start nor how to stop. Arthur, your life in Valley Stream has exemplified so many admirable qualities, and your achievements are so notable that I could easily be induced to believe that everyone in the hall would like to learn your philosophy, as it were, to find out what makes you tick. The mother of Andrew Jackson, in her last letter to him, set forth a pattern of life which so closely resembles some of your characteristics and traits that I might suspect that you had fashioned your behavior after the contents of that last letter. And Mrs. Jackson wrote as follows: Andrew, if I should not see you again, I wish you to remember and treasure up some things I have already said to you. In this world, you will have to make your own way. To do that, you must have friends. You can make friends by being honest, and you can keep them by being steadfast. You must keep in mind that friends worth having will, in the long run, expect as much from you as they give to you. To forget an obligation or to be ungrateful for a kindness is a base crime, not merely a fault, but an actual crime. And men who are guilty of it must sooner or later suffer the penalty. In personal conduct, be always polite, but never obsequious. No one will respect you more than you esteem yourself. Avoid quarrels as long as you can without yielding to imposition, but sustain your manhood always. Never wound the feelings of others, and never tolerate wanton outrage on your own feelings. If ever you have to vindicate your feelings or defend your honor, do it calmly. If angry at first, wait until your wrath cools before you proceed. Arthur, you personify that letter. Some people travel the road of life from birth to the grave without ever framing into words any philosophy of their own. Others set definite objectives. They know their goal. Goals in life can be classified roughly into three categories: acquisition, creation, service. Generally speaking, acquisition is selfish, creation is productive, and service is altruistic. Service is love put into action. Now, if Arthur's goal were creation, he has surely succeeded. Witness thereto in our own state, the roads and bridges, the public buildings, huge airfields, and many other gigantic constructions. They bespeak his productivity. If Arthur's goal be acquisition, he has conclusively accomplished that. The growth and expansion of Hendrickson Brothers Corporation give evidence thereto. One way of expressing the goal of acquisition is to want to make $1 million. All who know Arthur Hendrickson would testify that if his desire is to make $1 million, it would be primarily to have more to give to others. Now, if Arthur's aim is service, He has long ago ascended that pinnacle. Hundreds of valley streamers would provide proof of Arthur's services to them. The wisdom and encouragement of Arthur's judgment and counsel have been sought, received, and valued by scores of people. Arthur has expended countless dollars have been sought, received, and valued by scores of people. Arthur has expended countless dollars and incalculable hours of his own private life in services to his neighbors, to his friends, to his employees, and even to his adversaries. Arthur's goal is definitely multiple. Without question, it must be a combination of all three categories. These facts and performances qualify Arthur to be classed with those noblest of human beings, the philanthropists. Now, a philanthropist is a lover of mankind, one who sympathizes with and endeavors to help his fellow man, a promoter of benevolences. There are many other phrases in dictionaries to expound more fully the word philanthropy. But the deeper one researches, the more conclusive and irrefutable becomes the declaration that Arthur Hendrickson is a philanthropist. Of course, Arthur has enemies. So long as wickedness exists, any person of goodness inevitably incurs the enmity of evil. 40 years of righteous public life would unavoidably produce enemies for anyone. But what was said of President McKinley can be said also of Arthur. We love him for the enemies he has made. The author of the Beatitudes, that renowned person who is the namesake of a religion which has numbered millions of followers. The Jew of Nazareth, 1900 years ago, said, "Woe unto you when all men speak well of you." Man with no enemies. We should not, however, make the error to confuse enemies with opponents. It is human and natural that people have opposed some of Arthur's civic and political views. But the laudable discrimination here is that these opponents are, in a large part, also Arthur's friends. They are opponents, not enemies. Arthur's vocation is engineering and construction. His avocations are numerous, chief among them politics, and more specifically, Republican politics. Now, uninformed and unenlightened persons often shudder at and eschew the word Such persons are in between politic and politic. Politic is a singular adjective meaning to devise and carry out cleverness rather than with principle. It means to be crafty and artful in attaining specific objectives without regard for righteousness. Politics, on the other hand, is a collective noun that means the administration of public affairs in the best interest of the peace, the prosperity, and the safety of a state or municipality. Thus it is that Arthur's major avocation has been a forceful influence in bringing edification to this overabused and very much maligned word, politics. Arthur has restored a merited dignity to the function of politics. Like all people in public life, Arthur has been subjected to name-calling. Some of the names have not been complimentary in design, but most of them are affectionate nicknames. A nickname which has intrigued me is one derived from Arthur's elementary school days, the name of Tick Hendrickson. Despite all the inquiries that I could make, I was unable to find anyone who could or would explain the source of that name. And if I may use a slang expression, I decided to get it straight from the horse's mouth. And I asked Arthur to reveal its origin. He told me that his class in the 3rd grade in studying geography was expected to learn the names of oceans. One of his classmates, Albert Hendrickson, no relative, and at this point I should remind you that the woods is full of Hendricksons, related and non-related. This Arthur Hendrickson decided that Arthur sounded like Arctic. I'm not sure whether Arthur was named after the Arctic Ocean or the Arctic Ocean was named after him. But Albert Hendrickson reasoned that it would be easier to call him Arctic and much more intimate. So he became Arctic Hendrickson. Now, with the true reasoning of childhood, it was determined that Arctic is too long. And thereafter he became Tick Hendrickson. After this revelation, I thought it the proper time to find out what makes Tick tick, or to be poetically facetious, to find out what makes tick-tock. I had recently been reading some of Abraham Lincoln's philosophical and political Abraham Lincoln's political and philosophical declamations. One of them, containing 8 statements, affected me profoundly. These statements were uttered nearly a century ago, but they had conformed so appropriately to political conditions of today that I submitted them to Arthur for his perusal. He studied them momentarily, and then he said, "I subscribe to them completely." Now, these are Lincoln's statements, and they bear the wholehearted endorsement of Arthur Hendrickson. You cannot bring about you cannot bring about prosperity by discouraging thrift. You cannot strengthen the weak by weakening the strong. You cannot help the wage earner by pulling down the wage payer. You cannot further the brotherhood of man by encouraging class hatred. You cannot help the poor by destroying the rich. You cannot establish sound security on borrowed money. You cannot build character and courage by taking away man's initiative and independence. And finally, you cannot help men permanently by doing for them what they could and should do for themselves. Arthur is a fervent admirer of Lincoln. It is not strange that this is so. Both started life humbly, both achieved greatness, and the quality of philanthropy is inherent in each of them. Arthur's down-to-earth beginning is revealed in the photographic enlargement on my right. There he stands as of 1908. The picture on my left bears witness to the man of today. But like Lincoln, Arthur's achievements have not altered him nor his philosophy. He has lived his entire life in the village of his birth, partaking of and sharing in the troubles, the labors, and the vicissitudes of this community and its people. Arthur did not move to the Gold Coast when material wealth made that possible. Instead, he has lived modestly among us. And only recently has he built himself a home in the hamlet of his childhood, on the soil of his forebears. Here is a man who is one of us, not because he has to be, but because he wants to be. As a finale to this discourse on Arthur, I want to convey some of his own words, which, while they were said in praise of Abraham Lincoln, they reveal the character and the ideals of Arthur himself. I had heard Arthur, unrehearsed and informally, tell why he likes Lincoln. In response to my request, he transposed some of those thoughts to paper. He did not know why I wanted them, nor the use to which I would put them. But here they are, and I give you verbatim Arthur's words on Lincoln. Lincoln's humaneness might well set a pattern for all to follow. It would be difficult to attain the degree of humanitarianism possessed and exhibited by Abraham Lincoln. Yet it is a goal to strive for. Lincoln was one of the common people. He spoke their language simply and eloquently. He treated the most lowly as friend and neighbor. His creed was simply, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Lincoln had a deep reverence for the feelings of others. He wanted nobody to be hurt. He recognized that children, as well as grown-ups, have to be happy to create a good atmosphere. Admiration for Lincoln stems from the fact that he was a good man, plain, homely, and considerate of others. His efforts toward reaching higher office were due to his impelling desire always to be of assistance to others. Time after or election, he did not become discouraged. He succeeded finally in reaching the highest office of the land. In that office, he discharged his duty with the same simplicity that characterized and distinguished all his other acts, exhibiting forethought and thoroughness such that history has proved to be almost incomparable. He was a Will Rogers and an Eisenhower wrapped up in one person. Then Arthur went on to explain Lincoln's reason for the Civil War. He said Lincoln did not want to fight a war. He did not want people to die. Just the opposite. He wanted them to live and prosper. But he foresaw that the country could not continue to exist half slave and half free. His problem in this nation was akin to the problem today in the family of nations. Lincoln formed a pattern for all to follow. If a person can forge ahead in the face of antagonism and ridicule, knowing full well in his own heart that he is striving for the welfare of his fellow man, then he has duplicated some of Lincoln's acts. If at the end of his career a man has accomplished good purposes and has brought opposing forces into the right stride, and if he has produced a peace among adversaries, then he is doing as Lincoln did. Abraham Lincoln was the exemplification of the little recognized fact that wealth does not necessarily mean success. Born poor, Lincoln never became really wealthy. At the time of his death, his entire financial means consisted in savings from his salary. The term self-made man takes on its deepest significance when applied to Lincoln. There was something truly Christ-like about Lincoln, even to the point that he was shot by a crazed assassin on Good Friday, the anniversary of the crucifixion. Lincoln's teachings will live forever. Those are Arthur Hendrickson's words, and in them is revealed our guest of honor tonight, himself a genuinely humble being, a quiet, religious man of action and deed. Arthur, gathered here tonight are your family who love you, your friends who esteem you, your employees who loyally respect you, your associates who devotedly follow your leadership, and your fellow citizens of Valley Stream who laud and honor you. As their emissary, I am enjoying this enviable and happy privilege which is about to conclude in the presentation of a gift to you. This gift takes the form of a very brief biographical sketch of your life, only a few aspects of it. It is contained within covers of the best Morocco leather obtainable. The interior is finished in flawless satin, and the pages are hand-bound by an artisan. Arthur, the praise you have earned is endless. The affection we have for you is boundless. And in this meager, though inestimably heartfelt gesture, I give you a token titled, In Tribute to Arthur J. Hendrickson.
I will begin by saying thanks most humbly. Mr. Toastmaster, members of the clergy, Mr. Mayor, friends, and all of you. Often when I have spoken to an audience, I wound up a bit disappointed because I have said things that did not enter the program. I've also left out many things that I particularly wanted to say. I'm not going to let that happen tonight because I have a prepared text. But before I read it, I would like to talk a bit about what the previous speakers have said. I knew who was going to speak ahead of me, but I did not know what they were going to say. My prepared remarks, therefore, do not constitute an answer, but will convey what I particularly wanted to say to you. I certainly did not expect so many nice things to be said, nor shall I say, lay it on quite so thick. The spirit behind these statements is wonderful. To say the least, I am most appreciative. When I leave here tonight, my hat, my coat, fit me. I will be the same person that entered here, only richer and happier because of this beautiful experience. The future I look forward to is filled with a desire to carry on along the path you have laid before me. I hope to live up to that expectation. Now I will read my printed copy. The purpose necessarily of these words will be to say thanks. The words will come out of my mouth, but their meaning will come out of my heart. I want the words to convey the proper significance, and for that reason, I will speak simply and earnestly. I have known most of you for many years and hold a deep affection for all of you. How could I feel otherwise? In the light of our many mutual contacts, business, social, and civic. Now, tonight, you bring home to me full realization of the fact that all this is reciprocal. It would be time-consuming and difficult for me to pay tribute personally to each of you and to the many persons who would be present if physical conditions permitted. In reverse, however, you have chosen this occasion to do me that honor. How can I feel other than humble? I am happy that this demonstration comes from close friends and neighbors. You know who I am and what I am. There is no make-believe, and there can be none. I understand that your response to the organizers of this affair was so spontaneous that the whole movement could be considered unanimous. I am glad that the pastor of my original family church is present, as is the pastor of the church where I taught for many years in Sunday school. Then, too, it gives me extraordinary pleasure that the pastors of other flocks in our community are also represented. Welcome indeed for their prayers and their messages tonight. Again, I give thanks. I think it was splendid of you to choose for this place of this gathering a spot within our village, the community where I was born, raised, schooled, the community where not only my folks before me, but my brothers and our sons have made and will continue to make the headquarters of their operation. Valley Stream, as a village, is near and dear to all of us. We have heard from Uncle Henry, our mayor. Nobody is better qualified than he or to foretell his future. We are part of this village, and this village is a part of us. One of the especially valued features of this testimonial is the fact that the whole thing was conceived, devised, and arranged during my absence while I was on vacation. As denoted by your chairman, you missed me while I was away. This can give me nothing but a sense of exhilaration. It will permit me in the future to take respite from duty, knowing that you, like now, will again be happy that I found time for physical and mental relaxation. Please be assured it will be a pleasure each time to return to you and our village. I am the proud possessor now of this beautifully bound book, which appears to have been made up with great care and artistry, and I presume with equal adherence to actuality. I can well comprehend that your committee sought an appropriate means of expression. For this event, the choice is in good taste, and it is one that I will always treasure. Again, I give thanks. My remarks so far have been confined to local activities. My concluding remarks deal with the national issue, but are not to be construed as political. We now have a President of the United States who lives the part of a righteous man, who openly seeks divine guidance before undertaking a task, It is, therefore, our fervent desire, by the grace of God, his example will lead the country back to the ways of the Lord, and that his efforts will bring the largest possible degree of peace to the peoples of the world. In closing, I wish to express my observation and belief that the country as a whole is accepting this leadership and is reverting to the better days when people took into consideration the will of God, and it became an inspiration which made our country great. If we will all follow conventional precepts, then we will individually be doing our part toward that end. This is a great responsibility, yet it will result only in a better life for every person who thus cooperates. You have given me a great lift tonight. I am truly overwhelmed. Let me, in deepest humility, repeat my thanks to every one of you. I hold you all in high regard and respect. God be with you.